Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Hammond Board of Public Works and Safety, March 24th, 2024 meeting. Roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Are there any conflict of interest statements?
No, ma'am.
Approval of the minutes of the meeting of March 14th.
I'll recommend approval for March 14th meeting.
And I concur. Moving on, bid openings, there are none. Number 6, matters from other department heads and their representatives.
Good morning, Madam President and Board. Couple items to report on. First, 2834 Ruth, I was in court earlier this week. Or is it 2634? 2834. Okay, I was in court this week. Couple things happened. You remember that Miss Calvert and Mr. Ratliff appeared before you on this matter. They appeared before Judge Parent on a matter on whether or not he was going to hold them in contempt for failure to follow his order regarding not allowing Mr. Kearney's environmental consultant in the property, and also not giving us their power of attorney showing that they had the power to represent Garmon Properties, who is the owner, or was the owner. They did produce the power of attorney to us. They also indicated to the court that they sold the property to a LLC that was set up on the day before they sold it in Wyoming by a woman who lives in Richmond Park, Illinois, who happens to have the same email and phone number as Ms. Calvert. Go figure. But they did sell it. The deed was recorded on March 1st. Judge Parent dismissed the matter, so the board's affirmation of Mr. Kearney's order stands and demolition can commence. So I've let Mr. Kearney know that, and I've let the mayor know that. Other matter, unless the board has no questions on 2834 Ruth, I'll move on, and I'd ask that the board set 1463 Indianapolis, which is a demolition that you have had before you. It's on a rehab, I believe, at this time. The owner lives in Connecticut. The construction company, Rick Ruiz from Dragonfly Renovation, is requesting a waiver of bond. Mr. Kearney's inclination is to not allow that waiver, but they've asked for at least some status before the board, so if we could set that over for a couple weeks, even next week. Let's set it for next week, if we could. 1463 Indianapolis Boulevard for status, please. And Linda will request Mr. Ruiz's attendance at that, or the owner's attendance via Zoom, or assuming Zoom will work. Local owner, all right, so we'll make sure to get that person noted. Thank you.
Okay, I recommend that we set 1463 for a status for March 28th, 2024.
I concur. Correspondence. Letter A, correspondence received by Aben March requesting the approval to award the Marble Street reconstruction from State Line to Wabash Avenue to be awarded to Milestone Contractors North LLC in the amount of $348,048.34, who is the apparent low, responsive, and responsible bidder.
Good morning. This basically is a project that the city's funding and overseeing, so I would recommend approval. Mr. Dean Button's on his iPhone if he has any comments.
Yes.
We do have the funding available for it.
I recommend approval.
I concur.
Thank you.
Letter B, correspondence received from New Zion Temple Church requesting to block Tapper Street from the corner of Merrill Street to the corner of Morris Street on March 30th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I'll recommend approval for that.
I concur. Matters from board members.
Yes, Madam Vice President, I have one from the HC3 Board. They are requesting their street closures for Live in the Ville from May 31st at 11 a.m. through June 1st at midnight, from 169th to 167th, completely closed for their Live in the Ville. And they were providing their bone barricades, and EMA and PD will help them set them up and take them down.
And they're going to wrap at the required time, right?
Great, yep. Yeah, I'll recommend we approve their request.
I concur. Number 9, new business. Excuse me. Letter A, garage sale permits submitted for approval.
Okay, I recommend approval of the garage permit.
I concur. Moving on to number 10, old business. Letter A, status, gas station exception updates.
Good morning again to the board. I keep hearing myself.
Because it's ring back from here, that's why it was turned down.
All right,
I'll turn.
sorry. Gets confusing. It's hard enough for me to think, let alone have to listen to myself talk, which is not fun. So sorry about that. So we have 4 statuses. Again, I want to thank Mr. Novak, our Assistant City Planner, for staying on top of this. And today we have 4 of them before the board. I can report that Mr. Novak has updated me, and if there's any questions of Mr. Novak, of course, you can ask him, especially on the ones that are starting to be compliant. 10770 is a Luke station up north. As you all know, it's way up north. Some of the matters that Mr. Novak brought up, well, let me just summarize. They have not been in compliance with the things that they were required to do, and some of those have to do even with the Dunkin' Donuts wasn't licensed. There was a fenced-in dumpster needed. Temporary signs without a permit were on the fence. The ADA spot wasn't properly marked. Signage in windows was over 25%. They have not been in compliance with that, so I would request a 3-week date. And I would ask Linda to ask Mr. Fife, Mr. Terrence Fife was the head of security at Luke, who appeared for all the Luke stations, to appear on that date, and to also contact Mr. Novak to see if these things can be corrected before the 3-week date.
Okay, I recommend that we set this for status for March 18th. I'm sorry, April 18th, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
I concur.
The next one is 3550 Sheffield. So this is the one that's kind of right off of Boy Scout Road. And as the board recalls, this was kind of a back and forth on this one on whether to keep it open. The board ultimately allowed them to keep open. However, unfortunately, I can report that we still don't have the matters, including the shipping container and the abandoned payphone, the fenced-in dumpster, the driveway apron, signage, all that we still have issues with. So there's been little to no compliance, and I'd request this also be set for April 18th with a letter to Mr. Fife to appear to have the board consider revocation of this exception.
Okay, I recommend that we approve 3550 Sheffield for April 18th.
I concur.
850 Indianapolis Boulevard, I can report that Mr. Novak has informed me that it's a brand-new station, so the report to the board is that nothing needs to be done, brand-new station. So just wanted to let the board know that.
So no status
they're
needed,
in
sir?
compliance, no status needed.
Thank you.
And then the last one is the 2300 Indianapolis Boulevard, which is at 123rd and the boulevard near New York Avenue, near the bridge. You may recall there was a resident that came in and said this was a family-oriented place. They came in with a lot of information for the board, I think a lot of exhibits. I think he gave us like pages and pages of, you may remember all this. So I'm going to let Mr. Novak go ahead and update you as to what has been done at that property.
Yeah, so shortly after their approval, they did reach out to me and they did start work. And, I can report that they've cleared the windows of signage. They did some paving for bad spots in the lot, and they striped a proper ADA space. And so they still need to get a dumpster enclosure to replace the ramp in front of the building, so it's ADA compliant. You can maybe get in, but you have to go around a weird way. And they have to remove a payphone that's, still kind of hanging over in the front. But generally speaking, they've picked up trash, and they've, fixed some of the landscaping bricks and things. Like they're trying. And I guess maybe we just need a status or.
Probably don't even need a status. I think
Yeah.
as long as they're still in contact with Mr. Novak, he can bring them up before the board at his next check on them, which I think he's trying to do every 90 days.
Yeah.
If they're still not in compliance, we can deal with it then, but I don't think we need any, this is more of a status report.
I agree. Because like with this place, like they got to straighten a fence and things like that, and I'm sure they're waiting for the spring to do some of that stuff. So.
I think we're good on that one too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Thanks, Tom.
Moving on to letter B, status, charity run event. Mr. Hernandez
Mr. Hernandez
available?
present here today?
I don't see him on
I don't see
Zoom.
him on Zoom either.
Yeah.
Is that everybody on Zoom?
Look-
Jake, is that everyone? Or Ray, is that everyone on Zoom, if you can hear me? Sometimes there's additional people on different pages, but I assume that's everybody today. Okay, so Mr. Hernandez did not show up today. I think he was asked to appear. We did, for the record, receive a pretty detailed email from Mr. Hernandez. I've reviewed it. I can say the biggest concern I have is that he understands the need for insurance, but he is not planning on getting insurance for the run. He indicated that he's going to have participants sign waivers, but again, of course, we're relying on him to get the waivers that could result in some sort of liability on behalf of the city. So without insurance and without being able to name the city as an additional insured, which we would have required, I think my suggestion to Mr. Hernandez, although well-intentioned, is that he should kind of regroup, bring this before the board at a later date, and see if we can help him get the run in. It's not that we don't want to allow the run, it's just that, look, there are certain requirements to do so in the city, and therefore, without those requirements being met, my recommendation to the board would be to deny the request at this time.
I recommend we deny this request at this time.
I concur. Letter C, status, 4350 Sheffield.
Good morning, Board.
Morning, sir.
I have spoken to the owner through email yesterday and on the phone. He is currently working with his architect to get plans submitted to Commissioner Vale to be approved. So we're requesting a 2-week continuance to 4/11/24, and by then, hopefully, the plans are approved and everything can move forward.
Okay. I recommend we set this for status for 4/11/2024.
I concur.
Thank you.
Letter D, status for 944 State.
Good morning to the board. Mr. Luter's here with me today. Last time this was before the board, February 22nd, the status was to check in on the rehab agreement, and the owners were weighing self-demo. This is see if I can get some better pictures for you. Go ahead, Bill.
It's just a single-family home. Board members familiar with the property. Information I received yesterday is permits will be obtained shortly for self-demo by the current owner.
So I guess as long as they're going to self-demo, that's fine. We should probably set it for a status on that for 30 days.
Maybe do like a month and see if
Yeah.
everything started.
All right, we'll set this for status for April 25th, 2024.
Okay.
And then Mr. Kuparchak.
You'll get a hold of them, Bill? All right.
Mr. Kuparchak.
Okay, good.
Stanton, so-
Okay. Great.
Moving on to letter E, 1430 Stanton.
All right, so on December 12th, which was right before the end of the, see Mr. Gawarczyk here, right before the end of the rehab agreement expiring, Mr. Gawarczyk relayed to the board back in December that permits were pulled, but he's still not done. He had an issue with one of the contractors, electrical contractor issue. He did appear in December. He requested 90 days for a status. That's why we're here today. So I'll let Mr. Gawarczyk kind of update the board.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so I've had a rough couple of months. I had my living situation fall apart. I had to move again. And it's really eaten up a lot of my money that I have for this project. And I haven't gotten much done, but moved back in with my mother, so I should be able to take care of it out of my income now. It's freed up some money.
She needs to speak up.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, so I borrowed $50,000 to do this. $10,000 went to the city, and I've already run through that $40,000, but there isn't much left to do. So I'm hoping I can get another extension.
So how much time are you thinking that you would need?
Another 90 days would
What we'd
probably
like
be
to do
fine.
is get, I'm sorry, Jake.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think what we probably should do is allow Mr. Luter into the property if Mr. Gavarchuk doesn't have any objection to that, to see where we're at, and then maybe do a 2-week status so he can report back to the board. And then at that point, if everything's squared away, we'll probably have to do an amended rehab. So I'll hear from Mr. Luter hopefully before the 2 weeks. We'll get an amended rehab on that Mr. Gavarchuk can sign. And then if everything's squared away, we can, extend at that point another 90 days to give him time to hopefully get this thing moving.
Is April the 4th, okay?
For Mr. Luter to
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
Mr. Gavarchuk probably doesn't have, well, if he hasn't signed the amended rehab, I'd like him to appear. If he has, then he probably doesn't have to. He can stay in contact with Mr. Luter on whether he needs to come or not, but are you good with April 4th? Okay.
I'd like to set 1430 Stanton for April 4th, 2024.
I concur. Letter F status for 4919 Pine.
So 4919 Pine, this has been a kind of an ongoing issue. The second extension expired on December 14th, 2023. It was with Yomisha Mitchell. I don't even have a signed second extension in my file. I have a first extension showing that the board entered it on April 27th of 23. I don't know what's going on with this property except to say that I don't show it being rehabbed or done. Bill, do you have it?
No, but I'd say let's say similar to Stanton, 2 weeks, see if we can get inside. If not, then we'll just proceed forward. So I'm trying to remember this one.
I mean, here's what I got also. We've got an order from October 22, so we're getting kind of up on the 2 years. So if we're going to knock this thing down, we need to know. So if we could have a 2-week status, and we're going to have it up for determine whether it's going to move forward with demolition or not.
I recommend we set this for status for April 4th, 2024.
I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11, meeting open to the public. Chris?
Chris?
Okay. Well, we made it through without any scurrilous behavior, so,
That's not true.
no,
Dean was pretty scurrilous.
he was scurrilous.
Louis
Okay.
Thursday? Okay. I recommend adjournment.
I concur.